What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Perfectly Blended podcast. That's right. Happy BlendsGiving. That's what today's episode is. Coming up right now.
Right now.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Perfectly Blended podcast. This podcast is for blended families, for couples that want to strengthen their marriage and want a brighter future. Perfectly Blended exists to break the stigma of divorce, drop the shame and guilt holding you back, and equip marriages to thrive instead of just survive. We believe all that is possible in this life is based on the power of Jesus Christ and His ability to restore us fully. Let's dive in. What is up? We haven't been live in a while, actually.
I know, shame on us.
No, not shame on us. We have had a lot of really awesome interviews, but we haven't had a chance really to go live. So it's awesome to be with you. So if you're joining us,
my foot is still broken.
It's still messed up, but it's getting better.
I'm not going to show.
Notice she's not only 4'11" on today's episode. If you're watching on video right now, Christy is not 4'11", which is pretty incredible.
The wound is 1.3 by 0.3,
and that's in centimeters, folks. Just so we're clear on that.
Yeah.
So you got anything on your mind today? Anything you want to share? Anything new that you want to share?
I mean, it's almost Christmas time, and if you guys have been watching our podcast for any length of time, you know that I love Christmas. And when it gets to be the month of Christmas, I convinced Josh to wear Christmas sweaters for each episode
and I love
that
them.
we air live.
I love them.
And he does not love them, but he loves me, and he does it for me, which I so appreciate.
I do.
And my foot is still. So August 5th, I had surgery. I was allergic. Had tons of skin come off my foot. And
was yummy.
Infection in the incision. And I had a wound vac. And I had a PICC line. And 4 days in the hospital. And tons of stuff. No PICC line anymore. No wound vac, obviously.
Still have a scooter.
Still have a scooter. She did tell me last week that I can start walking on it sparingly in my boot.
And you have.
So I have been doing that.
Yeah.
So, but it's so close to being closed up.
Yeah.
So close.
So
but anyway,
awesome.
That's it.
Yeah. So we titled this episode BlendsGiving. Why? Because we can. And that's fun.
Yeah.
Right? Thanksgiving's coming up. So let's talk about on today's episode, let's talk about ways of giving thanks, right? Especially for blended families. And we hear a lot of drama around blended families, but what about all the things we can be thankful for?
Right.
Right. There is a lot of ways that we can be grateful and thankful for blended families, right? So we want to talk about it today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you ready to just dive right in?
Because I think the last few years we talked about like what blended families can do to survive. But let's just talk about gratefulness.
Yeah, gratefulness. So this is an awesome time of year to reflect on the things that do work, and the things that are good about blended families. It's especially in the Christian community, we have a hard time. We feel like there's a stigma over top of us at all times. And a lot of that is we carry a burden on ourselves with that. So it's nice to be able to kind of take a giving or a thankful attitude towards it so we don't put such a dark cloud over it.
Yeah.
Because there isn't one. Our marriage is pretty good.
Ours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love you, and I love my family, and I love all these things. So, and I don't feel like there's a dark cloud over us, only because we live in Michigan. That's the only reason why there's a dark cloud over us, because our weather is poo-poo. Nobody likes Michigan weather.
No, or the Michigan governor, but
some people do. Apparently, she got voted back in. But there's a season that everybody likes. It's called fall, but fall lasts about 28 minutes here in Michigan. So you don't get much of that.
It's pretty. You're like, oh, it's so pretty. Gone.
Yeah, if you blink, right? Like if you don't hurry up and drive, you don't get to do the color tour they call it here in Michigan. Yeah, if you don't do it the right week, like you miss it. Okay. All right, enough of that drama. Okay, so the very first thing we want to talk about today about BlendsGiving is thankful for a new opportunity.
So when you get remarried, and especially if this is your first holiday, you can start really stressing out about the what ifs. And this does awesome sermon this past Sunday. Our pastor talked about having faith in God, and instead we get caught up in the what ifs or trying to control things. And this is appropriate for this holiday season because you can start stressing about like, what if this happens? What if this happens? Or trying to control situations like, I want to make sure that this doesn't happen or this doesn't happen. Instead, take a moment to calm down, take a breath, pray, and start thinking about the what you could do in this new opportunity, in this new season of life. And then each year that you're together with your blended family, what's something new that you could do? Because as the seasons change too and your kids get older, you could also have that be sad. Like, this year Josh's daughter isn't coming to our house because Thanksgiving because they have to go on a rotation, Christmas at one, Thanksgiving the other. So how can we make it special without her? Can we FaceTime her? That doesn't mean we can't talk to her, on that day.
Shunned.
Yeah. So be thankful for the new opportunity and start getting your thought juices flowing.
Yeah.
And the stuff that you can be thankful for. It really does change your mood. Yeah. And if you're having trouble doing it, you and your spouse should sit down together and talk about it.
I agree. And I think it's important that we understand the way that pain works, right? So if we take these past experiences that we've had, whether it's through divorce or maybe you've blended because of death, or there's so many different reasons that bring you together. And a lot of times, almost every time, there's some type of pain that comes forward. But we have to end up looking at pain as an opportunity, right? Not just pain as something we have to just get through or bear down or just deal with, but as an opportunity. God is trying to give us a sign of opportunity. What can we learn from this? And so there's a lot of opportunity. I've learned so much from being married to Christy and having stepkids, so much about myself as an individual, so much as a father, and so much as a husband. And they've been all great opportunities. And if I just wanted to look back at all the stuff that didn't go right, and I didn't take the mindset of looking at it as an opportunity to grow, what God's really trying to do inside of me, I'm really missing what he's trying to do. So I'm really grateful. I'm super thankful for an opportunity that God has a way of pruning me, to be honest with you, in my blended family. It's always given me an extra opportunity. He gives me too many opportunities, to be honest with you. But I love having the chance to have an opportunity to do something better, within our blended family.
The opportunities are endless.
They are too much sometimes. Okay, so the second thing, number 2, is thankful for God's grace.
So, it kind of ties into what I was saying for the first one, too. You can sit down and be thankful for the opportunities that God has given you, and that his grace is sufficient for you. And you guys can talk about how you got together and how you ended up getting married and what the new opportunities in the new holiday season and Thanksgiving and all of that is going to be like. Those are things that you can talk about. God, if you truly believe that God can heal your family or have a great holiday, you have to truly believe that, and you have to get in touch with God's word, and you'll know that everything will work out. Everything will work out. Everything will be fine. It may be hard, some days, but you do have God's grace that's renewed every single day. And that when you sit down and you start praying, and especially with your spouse, God will change your heart about the things too, and he'll give you peace about stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's an amazing thing. So as believers, the center point of what we believe in, is the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And his grace covers all, and it covers us in all things. And it's really easy for us to get in our families, in our second, third families, however it is, and we lose touch with that grace. We don't allow that grace to be applied to our family, right? We feel grace and understand how it works with other things, but it's like with the family, we don't feel like there's enough grace that's there because we feel like we're victimized a lot of times. In the beginning, I remember, it was almost like we had to take sides in the beginning of our relationship with Christy and I. Like, she needed to defend her side, I needed to defend my side. And instead of sitting back and saying, wait a minute, I need to have a little more grace in this moment. I need to be more accepting and understanding. And what I was really doing is just trying to be defensive. Like, I needed to protect myself. And in all reality, we were supposed to be one unit. I don't need to protect Josh. I need to protect my family as a unit. And we have to understand that comes from a place of grace, offering grace, receiving grace within our family, especially blended families. And it's not always an easy thing to do. So I think this is a great time of year, BlendsGiving, right? It's the time of year to say, you know what? Maybe I'm going to offer up a little more grace than I normally would. Kids are being chaotic. Things aren't going exactly the way that I want them to go. You know what? I'm going to sit back and I'm going to give a little bit more grace right now. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to offer grace because of the grace that Christ has given me.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up the defensive thing or the controlling thing. Like a lot of times people around the holidays, I mean, I am guilty of this. We have this ideal of what the holiday is supposed to look like and the things that we want to do. And we put these expectations on it. And instead, if we just sit back and we trust in that God's got it, and whatever happens, it's went through his, hands and his fingers first, that you can just sit back and enjoy the moment. You can enjoy chaos sometimes if you sit and are really praying and asking God to change your perception on things. And thankfulness is a way to start there. Thankfulness, gratefulness, all of those. That's ways to change your perception about something. If something goes quote unquote wrong, usually that turns into a humorous memory. So like 2 or 3 years later, you look back on a holiday that everything you thought in the moment was going wrong, and it was like the most fun memory that you end up having out of all of the holidays. And we need to remember that in the moment, like let's just sit back and watch this, get some popcorn maybe, and just be thankful that God is in it. So it's all happening for a reason, and God is in it, whether we're learning something or teaching someone else something, but it's awesome.
Yeah, we get frustrated, I think, in chaos because we're too busy trying to control the outcomes of all of the chaos.
Yeah.
And grace teaches us that, what? We got to just sit back and we have to allow God to do his job, and grace covers things that we are incapable of controlling. And I love that about God's grace, and I am grateful for it. And when I'm able to recenter myself around what the principles of God in my life, and I'm able to then reapply those to my family, like Christy's saying, in the chaotic times. Listen, we understand, right? Blended families, the holiday seasons are almost always miserable, and it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. In the beginning, it was really hard for us because we're trying to figure out schedules, and we're trying to figure out, like, you get the kids more than I do, and the kids, come, they got full at the other house, and then they come to our house and they don't want to enjoy any of the food, and we started getting super upset about a lot of this stuff, and it's like, wait a minute, we can't control some of these outcomes. Why are we getting so upset about them every time? It's making all of the stuff miserable. And then later, Christy and I just said, you know what? Christmas Eve, we're going to make it our time. And we went ahead and told the other side, we're like, you guys can have the kids on Christmas Eve. Because Christmas morning became a very important thing to us, and which made Christmas Eve a very important thing because of something that we were able to share. And we did that because we sat back and we're like, you know what? We're just going to have a grace-filled heart with this. Yeah. We're going to have a different perspective on how our blended family is supposed to be.
Instead of having a fight over it every year. We did that with Thanksgiving too. We stopped worrying about whether or not the kids were going to come back to our house full. We don't care.
They're
there. So like they come back, they're here, they're present with our whole family. We're all together. There's going to be tons of leftovers. They can eat it for the rest of the week. It's fine. Like we really stopped caring about that. Everyone, when they would still sit in the same room while everyone was eating, sit down and talk to everybody. What does it matter whether or not they're actually eating? No one's ever really everybody at the same time, sitting down at the table all at the same time, having like this amazing conversation. They're not. Yeah. Kids are running around. People are getting up, getting second and third plates. People are going to the bathroom. Stuff's getting spilled. People's cleaning stuff up. People are caught in the sides doing their own conversations. The fact that we're all in the same room, that's all that really matters. Yeah. And it really made it a lot more enjoyable. Like, hey, the kids said that their other families started at 1, ours started at 2. They're actually going to be here at 3 because they're going to spend a couple hours there. They'll be here at 3. They usually sometimes would get there at 3:30. They did start to get there at 3, when they said, but none of that ever mattered because they came back.
Yeah, it's funny. So the earlier day, you don't know this, but when Christy was at work today and my son, it was here, he came home from college, and I said, Thanksgiving. I said, what time's your Thanksgiving at your grandma's? Because that's where they usually go for their mom's side. And he goes, I don't know. And he goes, what time's yours? I said 2. And he goes, probably 2. Because that's how it always is, and it's like, I'm like, okay, I was just curious, we know how it works. I even looked at him. I'm like, well, you know how it goes? And he's like, yep. And it's just like, I'm not going to get upset about it anymore. Like I'm not. In the beginning, we got really upset about it because it's like, we need to stand on this hill and defend it. Right. And like, no, we're going to die on this hill. And it just caused a lot more drama than it ever did any good. And it's
us grief.
Oh, always grief.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we're not doing that. I'm not doing that anymore. Like, I'm just going to offer grace in this. Like, nobody's winning in this. I just want my kids to win. We want our children to win in this.
Yeah.
And so that's why that ended up being that way. So
we ended up not even enjoying our kids' time when they were there because we were mad.
Just super bent out of shape about it.
Dumb.
Yeah. Thankful for God's grace. The third thing is we're thankful for community.
Community is so important.
We never thought it was either.
No. Yeah. And God has, in the last, I would say 4 years, God has really been teaching Josh and I community. We saw a glimpse of it 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago when we had little Josh's open house. We had all these people from our church show up on that day and start helping us like set up for his open house. And we had never experienced anything like that. And since then, over the last 2 years, it's really been prominent that, again, for Garrett's open house a couple years ago, but then with our first event last year and now our second event this year, and then with all of these health issues that I've been going through with my foot, like God has really been showing Josh and I, humbling us. Because Josh and I we used to talk about it all the time when him and I got together because we didn't have anybody that helped us. And we would say, we don't need the help. Like, we can just take care of it ourselves. Like, we'll just get it done.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah. And God has really been, through this season, it's, a new season this last year, of showing us, you guys need community and just how important community is. We've known because we've talked about it. We run Celebrate Recovery at our church, and we've been doing that for almost 6 years. And it's huge with Celebrate Recovery. But people kind of look at that separately. Like, yeah, in sobriety, you're supposed to start hanging out with sober people.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually that way with everything. That's why they came up with the saying, birds of a feather flock together. Like, your community and the people you surround yourself with is so important, and they can elevate you or they can push you down into the ground. And it's just being thankful for the community that you have around you, offering, people that maybe don't have a lot of family to come over to your house on Thanksgiving Day. We've done that before. It's just so important because you want to show this is a thankful time of year, right? Thanksgiving that's what people talk about.
It is. And I think I want to encourage, it's real easy to get into the victim mindset and say, well, nobody ever reaches out to me and nobody cares about me. Then you be the person that reaches out and meets people and cares about them. That's the beautiful thing about community is be a giver, not a taker. And eventually you will be part of a community that is all full of givers. Mm-hmm. You become part of a giving community. And that's a very powerful thing. It's like being around people that are constantly negative all the time, right? It's like, it's not that you don't want to encourage them, but let's be honest, the negativity will overtake your positivity all day long. And you can only do so much with that. So I believe in going and trying to encourage somebody, but that isn't your community of people, right? Those are the people you go out and you try to give to from your community. Be part of a community of givers. And that's a real powerful thing, especially in blended families. Be part of people that are finding success or that want to find success in their blended families.
Yeah.
These are great communities of people that you want to be around. They may not have it all together. Let's be honest, none of us do, but they may want to try and get it together, right? It's no different than being a true follower of Jesus Christ and not just a believer. Christy says this a long time ago. It stuck with me. I don't know where she got it. Maybe she made it up. But she goes, even the devil believes in God, right? Even the devil does. Everybody can believe in God, but who can follow him? And I look at that the same way that I look at my community. Do I belong to a community of people that are givers and that they want to grow and they desire more out of life, which means they desire to give more grace and more love and more care? Or am I part of a community of people that just want to sit around and talk about bad things and hem-haw and victimize together? And, don't do that. Mm-hmm. Be thankful that you have a community of people that want to help support, right? And grow with. But if you're not part of that, be grateful that there is one close by. I guarantee there's one inside your church. I guarantee it.
Well, and if you're part of a blended family and you're like, I don't have any blended families around me, you can find them. I mean, we've had people reach out to us. The majority of people that we have Zoom calls with and talk to and things like that, they don't have blended families around them. They live in different states.
Yep.
And you can find them, if you look hard enough. And you're not, it's like dating before you get married, right? You can go out and you can meet a blended family and then you're like, ooh, those aren't my those aren't my people.
Those aren't my blended people.
That's okay. Go somewhere else. But they have summits for blended families. They have so many things that you can find. There's so many Facebook pages. There's so many podcasts, actually. And when you start looking for them, you find them. Now, this one's the best one.
But there is a lot. There's a lot, but there's a lot of good ones.
There is a lot of good ones.
We have a Facebook group, but there also is more Facebook groups.
And so many of the people are such giving people. Now our experience has been when we first started looking into doing all of this stuff, that the Christian groups and the Christian people that we find are the most giving people. We've reached out to a few of the groups that aren't Christian, and they've blocked us. And we're like, we just want to help one another, encourage other blended families around the world, and how can we work together to do that, unite to do that. And you can find other blended couples that are out there. Even if you find a blended couple and you don't live by each other, you can have Zoom calls together and then make a plan one day to maybe go on vacation together or meet somewhere.
So I want to talk about that specifically real quick. Okay. So Christy's, it's slipping her mind, I can tell, because she's talking all around it, but not talking about it. So recently, a while ago, I'd say not even recent, maybe the last 6 months, we were able to get this couple to come on our podcast. It's called the Nacho Kids, and their name is David and Lori Sims. And we did an episode about a year and a half ago about Nacho Kids, and it was just more to talk about it. And Christy found some kind of a negative experience, not necessarily with Nacho Kids itself, but with a Facebook group. Anyway, sparked up, Lori had reached out to Christy on Instagram, and they messaged back and forth and all of these things. Well, we ended up having on our podcast. Well, since then, we've met them on Zoom a few times. And they are a blended family, and we've hit it off really well, right? Like, we laugh and we carry on, and we're very similar personalities. All four of us are, and now we're looking forward to maybe doing something together in this space, which is awesome. And that's the part of community we're talking about. Sometimes you just have to put yourself out there. You got to search for these. You got to look for these. And sooner or later, you're going to run into people who are like, hey, these are my people. Like, we get along, we think alike, we act alike, we feel alike. I mean, they're believers in Jesus too. And it's like, we have so many things in common. And you don't know if you just quit and give up. So I'm grateful for community.
That wasn't what I was thinking of.
Oh, it sounded like it.
No, a long time ago when we were reaching out to groups, I can't remember who it was. There was a couple that's in the blended space that are not Christian. David and Lori are Christians.
Yeah.
They're not Christians, and you had reached out to them on their Facebook Messenger or
something.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was talking about. Because David and Lori are Christians. So it's like, and that's what I'm talking about. They're Christians, and they're like, no, let's talk. Let's get it all out in the open. And that's what you find out. And then you get stronger because of it, and you can send a ripple effect out into the world. And that's what gets exciting, is when you find other couples that are in this space, the blended space, that you want to work together or just encourage or can spread the word for one another. It's just awesome. That's the whole part of community.
It is, and build each other up, and it's a tough space to be in, right? And you know that. You're part of a blended family. It's a tough space to be in, period, to find the proper support or people that know how to support. And so community is something to be very thankful for. Christy, like Christy said, blended families are very typical when it comes to, we're good. We'll take care of this. We'll handle it. We're just going to do all this behind closed doors. We don't need any help. We're fine. And that's just not the truth, right? We're not fine. And we need community. We really need assistance of other people to lean on and lean into, at times, and help. So,
but look at the ways that you can be thankful for. Like, I'm sure that there is people within your community that you can be thankful for. And you can always be thankful for God's grace. And you can always be thankful for new opportunities in your blended family. So that's the reason for the season.
It's the reason for the season. Yeah, and turn off your Christmas music, okay? Turn it off.
Blasphemy.
Friday, you could turn it on.
I listened to Christmas music all day today at work.
Yeah, blasphemy. So it's funny, on Sunday, I got to do the announcements at church, and I told everybody, I'm like, okay, raise your hand, or no, say boo if you are against Christmas music being played before Thanksgiving. And everybody was like, boo!
There was a lot of people.
And then I told everybody to say yay if they said it was okay. And then, like, the same amount of people, they yelled yay.
As soon as it hits,
I'm like, what?
I am sorry, okay? As soon as it hits basically October, it's the last quarter of the year is Christmas. Jesus is the reason for the season. And
what'd you tell me earlier? Thanksgiving's a day. Christmas is a season.
That's right. Halloween is a day. Thanksgiving is a day.
Listen.
Christmas is a season. So Halloween is October 31st. And Thanksgiving is whatever the Thursday is that it falls on.
No, these are called the holidays.
And then all around it from October 1st until December, the end of December, it's all Christmas.
No, it's not.
Yes.
No, the holidays is Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Christmas, and New Year's, right?
No.
Yeah, that's what it is. Tell me if I'm wrong, because I want to hear it.
Speaking of Christmas, so if your church is having service this year, because Christmas falls on a Sunday, which your church should, because as Christians, we go around and we tell people Jesus is the reason for the season. We should have Christmas and we should have church on his actual day then, or what's the whole point of us going around saying Jesus is the reason for Christmas, but then it actually falls on a Sunday and we're like, sorry, church is closed. Like, you should go.
Agreed.
You should go. So
agreed. Yeah. So we're going, and
because Jesus is the reason for this.
Yeah, because we're believers in that. We want to make sure that we stand for the truth in that. Now, I know I've read some stuff lately. They're like, nobody knows that Jesus was born on the 25th. Well, that's the day we celebrated. Okay. That's the day we
now
celebrate.
You're using that as a loophole just so you don't have to go to church.
That's
on
what
that
I mean.
day.
I read some stuff online about that. I'm like, okay. But it is a reason for the season. And yeah, I want to encourage you, just like Christy did, to please go to church on that day. Be a good representative of Christ. Your tradition should be every time that Christmas falls on a Sunday that you go to church.
It's every 7 years, people.
It's important though. And
or
leap year.
Yeah,
because of leap year. Yeah. You might toss in an 8th year. But I think it's just super, super duper important that you do that. I mean, it's important that we do that. So, giving, BlendsGiving, right? Tell us down in the comments. If you're watching this on a replay, tell us down in the comments.
Have a BlendsGiving.
Yeah, tell us what you're grateful for. Tell us what you're grateful for. We want to hear about it. You know, not just us, but other people that post inside the comments are going to be able to read these as well. We can all be grateful for something, right? We're grateful that we got up this morning. We're grateful for another day, another opportunity, right? God's grace in our life, taking, and putting his son on the cross for us. I mean, giving us this opportunity to live in this life and having a community that's available to us, whether we take advantage of that or not. It's there and it's available. So thank you so much. Have an amazing Thanksgiving. Have an amazing BlendsGiving.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else before we say goodbye?
Nope.
All right. Have a wonderful time. We will see you guys next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Bye.